हम फिर कहते हैं, हमारे साथ मिल जाओ, इस्लाम कबूल कर लो।
हमने आंखें निकाल दी उसकी, लेकिन उसकी आंखें झुकी नहीं हमारे सामने। हमने जबान काट दी उसकी, लेकिन उस जबान से उसने मांगे नहीं रहम के दो लाभ।
Hi everybody, today's episode is a very special one because today we are going to talk about one of the greatest warrior who ever lived in this country. This is also the story of the most iconic rivalry in the Indian history, which lasted for a decade and changed the course of upcoming century. These two personalities were Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj and Muhyiddin Muhammad Auranzeb. Now in order to understand this story, you need to understand the scenario of 17th century India. People back then, Auranzeb controlled a major chunk of India, and this is what his empire looked like. Amidst this humongous empire, there was a Maratha in the Deccan. For Auranzeb, Deccan was very important because he was aiming to suppress the growing influence of Marathas, and secondly, to curtail the rebellious attitude of the Shia kingdom of Bijapur and Golconda. In 1681, in order to pursue the Deccan policy, Aurangzeb shifted his capital to Aurangabad. Notably, Aurangzeb was able to defeat the Golconda and Bijapur, but Marathas remained untouched. And ultimately, the battle between Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj and Aurangzeb started. The identity that we have today as a country is largely because of the efforts of both Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and Sambhaji Maharaj. The story of Sambhaji Maharaj begins with a tragedy. He was only 2-year-old when his mother passed away. His grandmother Jizabai took care of him and raised him. A warrior wins a war not only with strength but with intelligence. That is why, along with Sanskrit, Sambhaji Maharaj knew 13 different languages. He also knew Portuguese, which also helped him fight against Portuguese power in Goa. He was only 9 when Aurangzeb extended a hand of friendship toward Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, which was a complete lie. Shivaji Maharaj and Sambhaji Maharaj were called to Agra and they were jailed. Any other child would have been scared. Any other child would have been valued his life over his father's king. But Sambhaji Maharaj was different. He refused to give up, and no walls are strong enough to jail people with solid intentions. A 9-year-old and his father escaped under the nose of Aurangzeb. At the age of 10, he was sent to Raja of Amer to learn governance. At the age of 19, he was already taking economic and administrative decisions at Raigad. He was only 23 when Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj passed away. Guys, many times an empire crumbles after the death of great king, but Sambhaji Maharaj didn't let his kingdom die. He decided to take decisions rationally and not emotionally. Aurangzeb had a fort in the outskirts of Aurangabad, which had enough wealth to sustain the Maratha Empire. With this idea, a 23-year-old defeated a Mughal king not once but multiple times. Sambhaji Maharaj troubled the Mughals so much that they lost focus in the north. This led to the rise of kingdoms in the Bundelkhand, Rajasthan, Punjab, and this was one of the greatest contribution. This was his legacy. If Jizao was the resolver of Swarajya, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was founder of Hindu Swarajya, then Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj was the guardian and ultimate defender of Swarajya, who kept it alive. In span of 9 years only, Sambhaji Maharaj fought and won 120 battles, and most importantly, he didn't even lose a single one. But in the end, his family stabbed him in the back. Ganoji Shirke was the brother of Sambhaji Maharaj's wife. Sambhaji Maharaj refused to make him Watandar. It was against Shivaji Maharaj's policy to favor family members. To take revenge against Sambhaji Maharaj for not giving him Watandari, Ganoji betrayed Chhatrapati and informed Aurangzeb when Sambhaji Maharaj was on a secret path to Raigad and was caught. Political prisoners are generally given some dignity, and he was still a rival king. but he was tortured not only physically but mentally also. Aurangzeb put forward three conditions. Number 1, Sambhaji Maharaj had to consider Aurangzeb as his emperor. Number 2, give all Maratha treasury to Mughals. And lastly, to convert into Islam. But you know what, guys? Sambhaji Maharaj said no to all his conditions. The baffled Aurangzeb reached the epitome of cruelty. Sambhaji Maharaj was tied upside down to a camel and was paraded across the empire. People were encouraged to throw stones at him, to urinate on him as he passed. He was tortured in a prison for 40 days continuously. His nails were pulled out one by one. Chili powder was thrown into his eyes. His skin was peeled using different instruments. Have you seen iron rods? These rods were heated till they turned red. These rods were pushed into Chhatrapati's eyes to blind him. Every day he was asked, Islam Kabul Karo, embrace Islam. But the reply of our Chhatrapati was always same, no. One by one his fingers were chopped, his limbs were broken, even his tongue was cut down, but still his answer didn't change. Aurangzeb broke his body but couldn't touch his spirit. He couldn't even get his last rites. His body was chopped into pieces and thrown in the river. Afterwards, the news of Chhatrapati reached Maratha camp. This angered the Maratha even more, and they made sure that Aurangzeb never owned the Deccan. 27 years Aurangzeb fought against Maratha and died in Ahmednagar with incomplete task. Now, what Aurangzeb did with Sambhaji Maharaj was cruel. But how many people are ready to accept this fact? People call Aurangzeb as a product of his time, just to justify his cruelty. They write books, celebrate him. How many people are really there who know the contribution of Sambhaji Maharaj? This is our country during Mauryan Empire and Gupta Empire. But then we lost our identity somewhere. Here then came Ahom Empire, who protected our identity in Assam. Then came Cholas and Pandyas in the south, who exported our culture beyond the borders of India. And then came Maratha, who gave us second chance, to stand up. Maratha Empire showed a dream of Swarajya to India. That's all from my side today, guys. If you learned something valuable, then please hit the like button and bye bye.